Hello, TOC Town and Team One Blogosphere. We're back in the studio with.
Jillian Garza.
Hey, Jillian, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing really good. Really, really good.
Awesome. Well, it's 2016 now and it's almost spring. I'm trying to catch up with everyone in the blogosphere to get an update on what's been going on, what's been happening. I know through social media you've been posting a lot of Dear God kind of letters to your subscribers, but give us some insight on what's been going on since we last talked to you.
What's been going on is I've been working on my own health as it is for just looking towards not just Zumba, but doing more of toning. So I've been working on that because I want to get more of a fit body and I want to have it more of a dancer body. And professional dancer body, and that's where I'm looking towards. So that's my goal personally, but I'm also working on Zumba classes, how to make them more fun, how to make them more like something you would want to come back to. It's like, okay, I know that people come in my class and I want to give them an experience that they haven't had before. Maybe they've gone to another Zumba class, but I want to give them an experience where it's very personal. I cater to them, letting them know that I'm here for them, for their goals, but I'm also giving them some nuggets to go home with to think about. So I keep working on it, and I'm planning on getting myself uh, this called My Place Zumba, and basically it's a course that you take, and it teaches you how to teach others about eating well along with working out. So those are a few things I'm working on. There's a lot more, but that's what I'm working on right now.
Okay. Well, listeners, Jillian is another person who decided to go to Paper and Planner and join our admin challenge. So let's check in with that aspect of your business life. How many planners are you using? Did you finally choose on one particular one that you like?
hmm
Okay.
So I used for my financials, I used the grid, and I it worked very well. And in December, we switched over. My husband takes care of the financials now, so he's actually looking for a calendar for himself.
Ooh.
So I realized, like, this is a really cool thing that I learned when it switched over. I learned how my husband works versus how I work. I'm very detailed. I got it all down. But I realized that he didn't understand my details. So it was like, okay, I need to have something more simple, simplified. And so he wanted to get the calendar. So now, me going back to planning what I do, I went back to electronics for my planner, but I also put it up on my refrigerator for everybody to know. What I end up doing, I end up using this calendar that comes from my building, and so I'll write those things down and jot those things down from this calendar that they have from my building, and people know, and my kids know, okay, these 2 days, mom's gonna be doing Zumba. The next few days, we're gonna figure out what we need to do. So I tell them just to plan it, and also we plan our meals, so we write those things down, and so yeah, that's how I've been keeping up with things, but it's more like a family schedule instead of
Okay.
just a my own planner.
Right, because yeah, and you have four little ones, so and a hubby, so that's a lot to keep track of and manage as well as a business. And even though you have a degree in what you do as far as design is concerned, which is what we're going to hit on later on in our little, I call it con leche conversations.
Ooh, love
I
it.
know, right? And so just to stick to planners for a second, you know, okay, you use the monthly planner from the building, but how do you structure your daily, like how to get the kids going on a day-to-day basis? Not as far as homeschooling is concerned, but just okay, calendar-wise, how do you keep them on track?
Well, calendar wise, we're always going over what we have to do during the week, and they have their weekly view.
Mhm.
So, with that, it's like I print it out for each kid. I put it up on their
You
board.
just use the regular planner, or did you decide to go with a specific system, or did you make it up yourself?
I made it up myself, and
Okay.
I'm going off of what the school gives us
Mhm.
as a way, as a means of, because it just helps my mind when I know what they have to do with the school and work around all of that. And then I'm like, all right, so if we get all this done, I said, then afterwards we have this. And I only put three things on my list because I was listening to Danny Johnson, which you referred me to. And she really said a mouthful when a caller came in and was talking about her having all these things that she's got to do. And she's like, how many things do you put on the list? And she's like, I don't know, about seven, maybe eight, 10. She's like, yeah, that's way too much. So,
Yeah.
she just explained it. Put three things on the list. So I put three things on my list and I check them off. And I'm like, okay, here's my list. I usually put it in my planner because I want to make sure, I mean, in my iPad, and I
Yeah,
check
because
them off.
I was gonna ask you, because a lot of us, even though we have electronics, I usually, like, my go to is the paper as opposed to my digital planner. So you said your husband uses more digital, you use digital, but as a family, you guys refer to the paper.
Yes, it's a
Okay.
combination. It's a combo because
Mhm.
for me, I can go off of my iPad, but for the kids, it's totally different. They
Yeah.
can't. Yeah, I mean, my kids still have, like, my two oldest ones have iPads, but for the younger ones, they're not gonna be able to put
Yeah,
that
it's
in.
kind of difficult, and for me, I'm a real advocate for, as far as their eyes are concerned. For me, it's a lot easier on my eyes. I don't know about them, but as far as like seeing how things go one to the other, sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
a little bit easier, to see it on paper.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes, if you're limited through the electronics because you're limited to what that particular program can do.
Mhm.
So let's say you want to put like a line, or like you draw out a line that that this week is going to be testing from Monday to Wednesday. Well, on my app, it's not going to do that. So on paper, though, when we have our calendar, I can put that on the calendar because I know that from this day to this day, we're going to be doing testing at the end of the month.
Yeah, because now that you've had all of this, day-to-day experience, how would you? Because you said it's a mixture. If someone's just starting, or they finally reached the boiling point of I need to change systems because this is not working.
hmm
What kind of advice would you give them?
I would say start out very simple. Start out with um, just what it is that you do, like, for a living, and put those dates on a calendar for yourself and start out very simple as to what those dates are. um, and then work your way towards putting down events. From there, then you can break those events and planning into a different place, so that you can have your thoughts being kind of poured out of, like, okay, I got to prepare for this, so I need X, Y, and Z, like a to-do list. I need this, this, this. Um, and then if you want to go a little bit further, or then I would say go from there. But the very first thing that you want to do is just lay down the format of, like, your month, what your month's going to look like, all the things that are that you're getting ready for, planning for. So you got a look, just an overview of what it is that this month's going to look like. And if you can see that it's getting hectic, then you got to figure out, how am I going to plan this out? So yeah, that's probably what I would advise somebody who is just starting out.
That sounds good, and it sounds very like you don't have to stress yourself out and planning your own day, and I think that trickles over into, I think you mentioned, you said your husband wasn't understanding, your tactical. You're like, I got it all laid out, the tactical details and everything, and he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. How has that helped, your relationship as far as communicating with him, getting on the same stage and platform?
Ooh, well, if I could be like just transparent, um, in December, I literally was in prayer and I could hear the Holy Spirit just telling me, give it over to them, and I was like, oh, okay. And, my flesh, I could be not trusting him or whatever, but it wasn't like that. It was like the Holy Spirit was just trying to tell me it's time to let him, do it the way that he knows how to do it, and just explaining to me what's going to take place because of that.
Hmm.
And so I was like, okay, I'm ready. And so I told him I just want to give over to you the finances and everything. And I realized that it was an opportunity for me to understand how my husband's mind works when it comes to him taking care of things. Because I know how my mind works taking care of everything because I've been taking care of it for the longest. But to see his reaction to, like, okay, we're going to do it like this, we're going to do it this way, then it was like, okay, I need to understand his way so that basically so that I could just get a gist of who my husband is when it comes to these things, because I didn't really know him. You know how you can know him, you can know somebody in certain places that they are in life, but then there's other places you have no idea what kind of person they are because they've never been in that place to show you what kind of person they are. And now he has the opportunity to show me this is how I work, this is how I think, this is how I do things, and to be free in that. Because Lord told me specifically, let him just do it. Don't put your hands on it. Don't talk to him about it. Just let him do it so that I can understand him better. And it's been really well for me because he comes from a perspective, if there's not enough money, I can go make more money. Or I'm in the perspective of I need to save more money. I need to figure out how I need to save because that's where I come from. He doesn't come from that same because he knows how to make money that way. And I was like, this is really cool, just learning his thought mind process. It's very, very good. And it's brought us a whole lot closer because we talk and everything, and we're not fighting or arguing or anything like that. It's always, very calm.
Right, because I was just like, me, I'm always like, visually imaging like the conversation through a cartoon kind of atmosphere. So
Yes.
it's like all of a sudden you're going, you're like, okay, the account is running low. It's like, okay, honey, time to go for you to go make more money. You need,
Yeah.
and he has no problem with it. It's not like he's stressed out about it. It's like, okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
oh, praise the Lord, because a lot of couples, I pray, who are listening, to this, especially young couples who, you have to choose your battles, especially the
Mm.
battleground, and finances are one way. If since you mentioned the word being transparent, a lot of times I've experienced women who, their husbands hold back the money,
Mm.
who
Mm-hmm.
they all of a sudden manipulate the money,
Yep.
so because they know how to run the numbers and to gain advantage over, the scenario. So for whatever reason, because while you were talking, I was like, whoa, she's letting go of the control reins.
Yeah.
Lord, help me, Jesus.
You know it. You know it.
Oh my goodness. And when you've had control for so long in that arena, it's like, who's going to tell you what to do? And how is he going to tell you to do it? And if the ideas sound crazy to you, you're like, okay, you know what? The Lord said, let it go.
Yes. But you want to know something? I think that when God wants you to do something, He's going to give you the grace and the mercy to handle it. And I realized that because I was like, yeah, this is not me handling this because I know me and I know how I am. I am exactly how you stated. It's like, don't tell me what to do because I know how to control this thing. I know how to get this thing together. I know how to, and it was like the way that God has been doing it, um, he's been showing me, no, you gotta learn both ways so that both you guys can, what's the word? Complement each other,
Hmm.
instead of being against each other.
Contrasting.
Yes. And it's like you guys gotta iron sharpens iron, he's sharpening me, I'm sharpening him. But it's another thing where, we're helping each other out, and it's not a thing where I know better and he doesn't know, or he knows better and I don't know. It's a matter of, he comes from a different perspective than I come from, and it's okay. He's learned to save too. I've watched him save so much from, finding coupons and
Ooh,
looking
get
at
out of
deals. Yeah,
here!
he has. It's
Oh
been
my goodness!
so he finds the deals too. Sometimes I look at him, I'm like, oh babe, that is
Wow!
such a I'm like, how did you find
Wow!
that? So
That's
yeah,
amazing.
so I've been very pleased with that, and I just know that that's all God.
And while you're talking, I was talking with Nicole. Listeners, if you've been subscribed to our channel, she's another one of our bloggers. And I said, I thank God for these two women in my life, because you guys were the ones listening to me hours upon hours, about what this community would be about. And
Mm,
revisiting a lot of these things in season 6, we're going back to basics. I'm trying to explain to people, okay, what are we really trying to do? We're trying to build a community where, you share ideas, tips of the trade. I don't really like it when they say tricks, because you're trying to pull something over somebody's eyes. That's not what we're trying to do.
no.
You're trying to make something obvious to someone and make it simple to the point that it is doable, that the kingdom is accessible, it's
Yes.
at hand. That's what that means.
Yep.
So before we go into a lot of the professional aspect, let's just head on out the house now. And
Mm-hmm.
Jillian's visual like me, that's why when the Lord paired us together, it was just like, oh, she's gonna have fun, we're gonna have fun.
We had a lot of fun.
Oh man. So we're heading out the house now, and we're headed off, to one of your Zumba sessions. We're going back to planning. How have you been able to structure it using, your digital planner as well as your paper planner, and how does it make sense for you now?
Well, for the most part, what I've been doing is practicing choreography that they give you for Zumba, right?
Mhm.
And so with that, they already give you the choreography through the you can print it out. So I really don't have to write too much down, and I realize, oh, there's certain things I don't have to do. You put extra work on your plate.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, they really made it easier for me. But what I've done was, is I select which day I'm going to work on it, and then in the mornings I just make sure that when I wake up that I practice it every morning. Sometimes it works for me. Like this week I couldn't. I had too much on my plate and I couldn't get to my cool down. But I'm planning on for next week that I get my cool down in. So every week I'm um basically flipping over one song. It's like I'll take one out, I'll put a new one in, and then the next week I'll have a new one, and then I take the old one out, and then I put a new one in. So that's been working for me, to make sure that my class is fun. I have something to look forward to because I've been working on something that I haven't shown anybody, and then they usually have a very great reception with it. One of my classes, most of my classes have been like, yes, like especially with my warm up, they've been like, wow, you know, they really enjoy it. And so I'm like, okay, if I have that, now I got to bring more different, just different things bringing it. So I'm just keep thinking about that. Um, it's sometimes it's kind of like, okay, I want to bring this and I want to bring that and I want to bring this and I have to stop myself and say one thing at a time, because if you start bringing away too much, it gets a little too confusing. So I have to stop myself because I get really excited about bringing stuff. So this is, one thing that I brought. The next thing that I have brought, and I have to write it down in my head so that I can write it out because I've been wanting to write it on the mirror, is little things like last week I had talked to them and spoke to them about what was it? Bring it back to my memory, Lord. I had spoke to them about instant gratification, and I had talked to them about just having something like a temporary fix that you get. And I said that's paired up with anything that's instant, anything that you don't have to really work for. I said, but when you want something so bad and it takes a while and it's a process, I said, then that's not instant, that's gradual. And I said, and that takes a lot of effort. And I said, I know that we all want to have we have goals set, and sometimes we don't make those goals because along the way we get distracted, along the way we get off base and all that. And I said, um, I'm learning that don't go for what's instant, don't go for the instant gratification, don't go for that. You have to go for the long term, so you got to plan out your days so that you can get to that goal. And I think that's been working, but like I said, I need to write down these things because I want to be more clear when I go, and the more clear I am, hopefully it'll help better in my classes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course it makes sense to me because I visually see what you're trying to say because, I follow you on social media. One thing I wanted to highlight because, journal, we have something called Journal the Journey, journal as you travel along.
Hmm.
And that's why I was so glad to see your choice of how to journal it was to do the Dear God segments. Tell our listeners a little bit about that, because for me that's one way to journal what you're thinking.
Yeah. It started in January. I was, it's funny because I didn't mean it to be, I was just bored one day. Let's put it that way.
Said, let's just tell the truth.
Right, I was just bored, and I was like, you know what? I feel like this year is going to be a great year for me. I'm in high expectation. Um, because on our New Year's Eve, I didn't get to go to church, and that's my normals to go to church, and our church really does it well when we do our New Year's Eve service. But this year I didn't get to go because my husband just says I just need to stay home. I'm really tired. I did a lot of work, so I was like, I'm gonna stay home. I said I'm not worried about it. Whatever. But I felt like me staying home was a very good thing, and I know it's ironic because you're used to your norm
And the
of being
culture is that we go out and celebrate.
exactly. But when I,
Mhm.
I stayed home with my family for the first time ever, and I sat there just looking at my family and going, these are my people. Like if there's ever an inner circle, this is my inner circle of
Mhm.
circles.
Mhm.
And I was like, God, you're about to take us somewhere. And I don't mean our church, I mean my family. You're about to take us somewhere together. And I'm ready for it. And that was where my excitement started to like just begin to grow in my heart. And so then, come January 2nd, I'm walking towards Goodwill because I was like, I'm going to go. And I just popped out my iPad and just started vlogging. And I was like, I don't know, because I was like, I had told my kids, we should vlog and we should do this on YouTube and blah, blah, blah. And we should do this. And I've been saying it for a long time.
Uh-huh.
And then when I started doing it, I looked back at the footage and then I put it on Facebook because I couldn't put it on YouTube. It was too long because I had a lot to say, evidently. Um, and then I was cracking up because I didn't realize how silly I am as a person. It was like, I am that way? Oh my God, I can't believe how silly I am. But I was like, this was therapeutic for me in the sense that um, I realized that I have been talking to people, um, just people in my inner circle, about things in life and situations that I've been going through and everything. And I realized that I was not necessarily talking in the right way about my situations. I was saying what was going on, which was negative, but not really clearly seeing how God can just take it and rearrange it for my good.
Hold on,
And
Jillian, you're breaking up on us. So are you
okay.
moving around?
No, I'm not actually.
Okay, now we got a clear sound. Okay, you might
Okay.
want to the last couple seconds you might want to repeat.
Okay, so I was talking to some of the people in my inner circle. They're not my inner circle, but they're, right there on the cusp. But I would talk to these people and I would say what was going on in my life, and it wasn't necessarily positive, but I wasn't necessarily saying anything like I believe that this is going to change, or or whatever. It was more like a desperate kind of crying out and all that. And I realized that things got to change. Although I love this inner circle that I have, I'm like, I need to change it a little bit, um, for myself. And I said I need to change how I'm doing things. When I started doing the Dear Diary or Dear God Diaries, I
I can
realized that,
always edit if you need to take a break.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
You
Wait a minute.
see.
Let me do this first. Okay, listeners, we're gonna come back with part two. Jillian needs to take a break because she does homeschool and the children come first. So join us as we continue on with our conversation with Jillian Garza.